Hey guys, it's Final Master Link, and I'm going to be talking about Breath of the Wild in this video. I do have the game now. I got it for the Wii U, played it for about 7 hours so far, and I thought it would be a good time to give my first impressions on the game. Although, really, I should have done this like with Skyward Sword, like actually talking about the game, a video dedicated to it. So anyways, I have a list of pros and cons, and you could say, I guess, annoyances, concerns. I'll save that for the end, though. First pro I like is that it actually has voice acting. I think everyone is good with that. I think it could have been done in Skyward Sword, but they chose not to do it. But voice acting in a Zelda game, that's pretty sweet, I think. So I'm glad they did that. I like how it jumps right into the game. Like the as soon as you boot up the game disc and it starts spinning and it shows the icon and you press A, pretty much immediately it shows the cutscene of Link waking up in a chamber and walking outside and seeing the open world that you can explore and discover secrets in. I think that's pretty sweet. It didn't even show like the new game option in the title screen, so I think that's pretty cool. Definitely a pro. It is a open world in the truest sense of the word, just like the original, which is why I'm showing that as game footage, because that is an open world game technically. Although this time around, I think they took a lot of I keep saying a lot. It's really annoying, I'm sure. They took a lot of inspiration from the Elder Scrolls series, which I think is a good and a bad thing at the same time. But I'll probably get into that a bit later on in this impression video. Um, I gotta stop doing that. So, voice acting, I said was good. Let's talk about the characters. Now, even though I put 7 hours in, I haven't actually met a whole lot of key characters in the game. I want to say I met like three of them, and I'm not counting Zelda because you didn't actually meet her. She just kind of talked to you telepathically. But I've met an old man, um, a woman I already forgot her name, and Impa. So those are the characters I've met so far, and so far I like them. They all have these sort of quirks about them. They're kind of silly, which Zelda has always kind of had zany characters. I mean, I, I'm convinced there's a Tingle somewhere in this fucking game, and when I see him, I'm gonna laugh my fucking ass off. it's just it's hilarious how funny these characters look. So definitely a plus for the characters. Although a lot of the minor characters they don't have a whole lot of depth. Although to be fair, they never really had a lot of depth in Zelda games. If they're not story related, they're pretty much one note, I would say. Like some random guy in Kakariko Village, he wanted me to get 10 Kukos, and that's probably his only trait is to give me that side quest. So yeah. And speaking of side quests, I can tell there are going to be a shit ton of side quests, which is fine because there are actually only 4 dungeons in this game that I know of. Maybe there's a fifth one, but basically it's a North Dungeon, South Dungeon, East Dungeon, West Dungeon, because they're talking about these things called the four Guardian Beasts or something like that. So definitely looking forward to getting into one of those. I bet those are going to be pretty sweet. Another thing is that the game is actually much harder than Zelda has been throughout the past decade or so. I'd say this is probably the last challenging Zelda game I would say I played was probably like Majora's Mask. Um, so it's definitely nice. I do like a harder Zelda game, believe it or not. It is harder. The most basic enemies can hand you your ass if you're not careful. I'm talking about just like regular moblins. They can hand you your ass, especially at the start when you only have 3 hearts. So that's definitely nice. I like how the story is also kind of reminiscent to Ocarina of Time, and I don't want to get into too much, but they tell you this basically the first 2 hours of the game on your little like tutorial island level. So basically, 100 years prior to when Link woke up, this thing called Calamity Ganon appeared and destroyed the lands. And in the fight, Link actually was mortally wounded. He almost got killed, but was saved at the last second by taken to this place called the Cave of Resurrection, which is where you woke up from. And due to the process, he hasn't aged one bit. His wounds are healed, but at the same time, he doesn't remember anything really. Aside from maybe his name, everything other than his name, he is just a complete mystery. So he's trying to put the pieces together in his head about what actually happened, and the main characters will tell you bits and pieces of the past. So that's cool, I guess. It made me think of Ocarina of Time in the sense that, Hero sort of like failed the first time, so he's in the future in order to sort of redeem himself. How Link did that in Ocarina of Time. He was too young to actually take on Ganon, so he had to wait 7 years times in order to basically be the hero of time to take on Ganon. So I think that's kind of interesting, and the world is in shambles just like this world is. So that's definitely cool, and also it also kind of reminded me of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Nickelodeon show. Um, yeah, it's cool though. I'm not gonna get into that show in the comparison because it's about Zelda, but I thought that was neat too. So some of the cons that I've discovered already. This one's a pretty big one, I think. 8 times out of 10, if you find a weapon lying on the ground or whatever, if it's from an enemy, if it's just lying there by, say an old log cabin you came across of, 8 times out of 10, that weapon's gonna suck. It's not gonna last more than like 5 swings, I guarantee it. I think that's a big issue with the game because you always have to keep getting new weapons, and while they are plentiful, it seems like such a hassle. For me, it would make a lot more sense to have the weapons be much more durable or permanent. I mean, to an extent, I could see like one of the first shields you get, it tells you point blank, this shield is made out of animal fur and bark. You really can't expect that shield to last a damn. Or tree branches. That's actually your first actual weapon. There's a tree branch like literally right outside when you wake up when you first start the game. So of course that's not gonna last that long, but I'm talking any kind of sword uh, that's made of like a wood material or whatever, or any kind of club. It's gonna be destroyed in like 5 hits guaranteed on anything. I think they should have handled that a bit better. I mean, I'm assuming you can get like the Master Sword later in the game, which is like a permanent item, like it doesn't have any durability to it. It just lasts forever. You know what I mean? Um, and hopefully there are other weapons besides that. I hope there's a bow that lasts forever too. That'd be pretty nice. Although most of the issue is with the shields not lasting for shit and the swords not lasting for shit. The melee weapons, I should say, because you can use weird ass items. I used an arm from a skeleton to beat the fuck out of other people. I never thought I'd see that in a Zelda game, but sure enough, I saw it, and I was laughing the whole time because it actually like when you sheath it in behind your back, the arm will actually like wiggle like it's still alive. I think it's hilarious. That's pretty funny though. That's a funny weapon. Oh shit! And you just use it to bitch slap the opponents. I'm getting off track. Anyways, they need to work on that. I think make the weapons more durable. They should have done that, so I don't have to go chasing everywhere. They are plentiful, yes, but I don't think they should have. I think it makes a lot more sense to make them worth a damn at the start, so you don't have to bother getting a weapon every 10 minutes or whatever. I think that's dumb. So that's definitely a con. The game itself, it looks beautiful, quite honestly. You can tell they put a lot of care into like the color aspect, and the draw distance is also pretty good for a Wii U game, which is essentially like a PS3 title, I would say, because it is still last gen technology. Well, I guess 2 gens ago because the Switch is out. But anyways, um I don't think it looks quite as good as when like seeing the E3 trailers for the game. I'm not quite sure if the E3 trailers were more reflecting of the Switch version of the game. I can't really comment on how good the Switch version looks because I didn't get the damn thing. Because, not really any games that I gotta have. I got this for the Wii U because that's exactly what it should have been for the Wii U. Instead of porting Zelda games, to the Wii U. But that's, I've already said my piece on that. So, anyways. The other thing I like, or not like, the other thing I don't like is that the controls are still a bit clunky to me. I played the game 7 hours and I'm still not able to differentiate, like taking out my bow or putting a weapon away to say, switch it with another weapon or whatever. It still confuses me, and I think that's a problem for 7 hours in. So the controls, there's something you got to get used to. I've even had this happen twice, and I guess this is more technically the gamepad's problem than the game's problem. But you see that you use the bow by pressing the right trigger, like the right very back trigger on the Wii U gamepad. And when you press that, if you just press it once, it'll automatically take out your bow and whatever arrow you have in your quiver at the time, it'll fire it. And you see there are bomb arrows in the game, and I've accidentally put the damn gamepad down twice, and it shot a bomb arrow and killed my ass in one hit. That was fucking annoying. That shouldn't be able to happen. So technically, that's not a game issue. That's just a that's just a controller issue. So I still don't like that damn Wii U gamepad. I've had the Wii U for like 3 years now. I still don't care for it. I would love to have a pro controller, but $50 is way too much for me to spend just to play a Zelda game. So, if you have a pro controller, I would suggest using that, honestly. I wish I had one. Well, maybe I can get them for cheap now because the Switch is out and everything drops in price. So whatever. And the last thing that I have that's actually a con is the items are not really earned. They pretty much give you your sword right off the bat. Well, they give you your melee weapon right off the bat. You get your shield or whatever you can find. Your first shield will probably be a pot lid, which I think is hilarious, but hey, it works for the first, say, 30 minutes of the game. Yeah, they give you your bow. Bows you can basically find anywhere. What else? What else? What else? You get you get this thing called the Sheikah Slate, which essentially acts like a multitude of different items. It acts like a bomb. It acts like this thing called a magnesis, which is basically a giant ass magnet that allows you to pick up metal objects such as chests or cubes or there are these big old metal plates that you can also pick up using it too. And it gives you this in the tutorial level, which lasts roughly 2.5 hours. So really, they're just handed to you, and you don't earn them at all. And that's another thing that just it irks me. I think that's a con because it ruins the progression. Um, when I was playing A Link Between Worlds like 4 or so months ago, I got that game pretty fucking late. And the reason I got it then, as opposed to when it first came out, is because I didn't want to pay $40 for it because I thought it took too much inspiration from Link to the Past, which it does, but it's still a pretty good game, quite honestly. But that game has the same issue I seem to be having in this, with the with it being less linear and less structured. You don't really earn your items that you use. They pretty much just hand them to you. So it's pussifying the experience is what I would like to call it. It's yeah, it's more you know open to everyone, but come on, I don't think you should just do that to a Zelda game, to any game. Just help, instead of earning the items from the last games, fuck it, we'll just give them to you. You don't earn shit. I think that's dumb. It's one of the main drawbacks I think of Link Between Worlds is the fact that you don't actually earn the items in the dungeons. You just rent them from a store. I think that's dumb. Um, so that's pretty much my list of the pros and cons. I do have a couple concerns though that I'm gonna kind of raise up. Probably the first concern I could think of is yes, the world is big. I didn't think it was big as what I thought it was. Actually, I think it's smaller than I thought it was, but that's a good thing. The world is still plenty big, but I'm still wondering like how exactly it's. I feel like it'll wear out its welcome even when I'm close to finishing the game because 7 hours in and I'm not even at the first like legitimate dungeon. That may be a problem. I might get bored of the game, quite honestly. Um, and that concerns me if I lose interest in a Zelda game. A Zelda game. I lose interest in a Zelda game. My, Link is in my fucking YouTube name. You know what I mean? It just sounds so absurd. Unless it's a CDI Zelda game, I suppose. So I'm definitely concerned about that. Is if I'm gonna be interested in this game until the end. I really hope I am. The story is the main reason that's pushing me. I want to see I want to see what happens. I want to see what the more the backstory is and that kind of stuff. So that's definitely going to drive me along. That and I got to experience the dungeons. You know what I mean? I got to do that shit. Other concern I could think of is that oh, I know there's another concern I had. Well, technically I had a concern, but it was resolved. I heard that you don't actually get heart pieces in this game. Like they don't exist. I mean, that's true and it doesn't. Um, Basically, there are these things called spirit orbs, and if you get 4 of them, if you go to this thing called a goddess statue, you can basically offer them up and receive a power up of either more stamina, or a heart container. So basically, the spirit orbs are heart pieces. And when I figured that out, I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine with that. You know, it's like call them whatever you want. Get 4 of them, get a heart container or a stamina bar, which I'm not really a fan of the stamina bar, to be honest. I like the aspect of making it more realistic, but if it makes it less fun and more of a pain in the ass, I probably don't care much for it. And that's what it is. It's just a drag, is what it is. I mean, yeah, I could upgrade it if I wanted to, but I don't feel like I should. But you basically need it to do anything in the game, whether you want to run, whether you want to climb, whether you want to paraglide. You actually use the stamina bar for paragliding, so that's going to be definitely an issue. But you know, basically the way to get these pieces of heart, I'm sorry, these spirit orbs in the first place. There's these little mini shrines throughout the entire landscape of Hyrule. And what you do is you essentially like look around, get on top of a really big tall place, and you look around the landscape, do a 360, and if you see like these weird orange glowing statue things, that's probably a shrine, and you can try to mark that on your map and sort of like make your way to it. Which I do like that one thing about the map is that you can mark things. Like specifically, you can mark like sort of a crystal mark, or you can mark a sword if there's like a weapon there, or you can mark like a skull icon if there's a group of monsters, because there's a lot of monster camps out there that you can basically fuck up at your heart's content, and that's pretty sweet too. Just go up to a band of monsters and start killing them. That's good times. The other concern I've had is I think in the process of trying to break the Zelda mold, I think they might have gone a little bit overboard with their sort of inspiration, with their sort of style. Because honestly, right now, this game to me looks like a Zelda Skyrim mod. That's what it looks like to me. Um, Now I'm trying to think, is that a good or a bad thing? It has me concerned in the aspect of, oh, it's gone so far from being the linear gameplay that now it's just going to be an open world game like Skyrim or Fallout or what have you. And I am concerned about that because while I like those games, I'm not in love with them. I still think they're still kind of a pain in the ass, essentially. I mean, I put 100 hours into Skyrim. That's a lot for any fucking game. It's too much. I didn't even do the main quest. I never even finished it. I got sidetracked with 500 million different side quests that I never even got around to it, and I have no intention of ever getting to it either, because I got tired of this shit. It overstayed its welcome, and a lot of games can do that. And this one might too, honestly. Uh, if I think about it, I can't see me doing this 100%. I would assume it'd probably take like 80 fucking hours, which I probably don't have time with. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe when I was a kid, but I'm 23. I don't have time to do that kind of shit. Uh, you know. That's pretty much all I wanted to say about my impressions of the game. I'll do another video talking about my final thoughts, and hopefully I would have beaten the game by then. So until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.